What's up, everybody? This is BakaBites. I'm Frankfurter, that is Magically Average, and today we are going to be discussing all of the manga news that kind of came out of San Diego Comic-Con this week or this past weekend. Um, Now, surprisingly enough, most, if not all, the no, I guess it's not super surprising because it's Comic-Con, so you're
Yeah.
going to get manga publishers there. However, there seem to have been a lot more manga publishers at San Diego Comic-Con than there really were at Anime Expo this year, which is very intriguing. And if nothing else, we got a lot more manga news out of this event than we did the other. Now I understand that it's Comic-Con, so you're going to get more book, related news, so manga related news isn't necessarily a huge, surprise, but I think the amount of news we got was a bit more than I anticipated, and the fact that it was definitely more, at least for the United States news, of what got licensed, etcetera, we got more of it than Anime Expo, which is, yeah, very kinda odd and awkward, but, we're gonna run through basically the lists of, series that got picked up, by different publishers. We're gonna start with kind of the smaller ones, and then make our way up to the bigger announcements. So, first and foremost, we are going to be starting with Titan Manga. They have licensed Last Boss, Love Death, and the Rabbit Circle. So these are two manga I've never heard of.
Mm-mm.
No recollection of what they're about. I know that the descriptions are here on Anime News Network. However, uh, for the sake of time, we are just going to say the titles. But, Titan Manga, I may have one book from them. They're a very small publisher. So the fact that, they were able to attend San Diego Comic-Con and, present what they're licensing coming next year it's good news. I think overall, even having smaller publishers there is very good news. The fact that
Yeah.
they're getting their brand out there and they're getting their series out there. Now, if the quality of the series are bad, then I can't help that. But at the same time, more series in the United States is always a good thing. So,
100%
again,
agree.
those titles were Last Boss, Love Death, which is just one title, and then The Rabbit Circle. So that was what came out of Titan Manga. Next, we've got Manga Mavericks. They licensed a few different things. The first one being Our Insignificant Justice, which is getting released in 2027, both digitally and physically. And I don't think that there was anything else for books, but the Manga Mavericks also announced that it will release the fifth chapter of Kaokoku Brothers Divine Messengers and Demonic Guardians manga digitally on August 25th. The company plans to produce a print release of the manga at a later date. So I guess it's just more so like, hey, here's an update for another series that we've been publishing. The fifth one's coming out soon, we promise. So yeah, but that's all that it looks like for Manga Mavericks, but still, any news is good news
I
out of the smaller publishers.
I think the biggest news to come out of Manga Mavericks, though, is that they announced during their panel that they're launching an independent manga alliance, which is a joint venture between Manga Mavericks CEO Varun Gupta and Mahjong Pro's head of partnerships and licensing, Harrison Doan. So, specifically meant to distribute, market, and support the sales of independent creators and small publishers and link them to partner publishers and distributors located in the United States or globally. So, it's good that they're at least highlighting the US market first. I mean, I say that and it sounds like I'm being biased, but we've harped on the fact that the US market is usually well behind a lot of the other markets, obviously Japan aside, like much of the European market like in Spain and France. We've already stated that France, I think, is technically the number one outside of Japan for consumption of manga, next to the United States. And
Yeah.
then a lot of manga gets released and licensed throughout other areas. Like I know, again, I always bring up Steel Ball Run, but it's always the easiest because it's one of the few that I know off the top of my head. Like I think it was in Spanish, Italian, and French like years before it got the English release, right?
Yeah.
But this is good. I mean, it's highlighting the need for visibility and better access for smaller publishers and then those independent distributors as well, or independent creators, I should say. And not only forming a coalition for them that for themselves to unite and kind of partner alongside each other, but also as a gateway or at least a communication line to the larger publishers and distributors to assist with just starting in that area, like, trying to build up in that space and get bigger and get more access to areas that they might not have if they were to have attempted to do so on their own. So that's probably the biggest news I think out of Manga Maverick. Um, Also pointing out too, this is during a panel, right? So a lot of what we're talking about with these publishers are done at the panels. And if you remember, if you remember, I say presumptuously, if you had listened to our Anime Expo recap, there really wasn't a ton when it came to manga announcements. There were some big ones, but there wasn't a lot in the space of like huge announcements or like massive lists of manga announcements done at panels. There's a lot more at San Diego Comic-Con. And we have a ton to get through. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the multitude of tabs open, and can kind of read ahead, but there was a lot announced.
Yeah, which getting back into those announcements, we're going on to Udon, which excuse me, Udon Entertainment licenses Hiromi Matsuo's department store Waltz and Rondo manga. The basically it is I had to read through it real quickly here. Hiromi Matsuo's department store Waltz is one thing, and then there is Rondo, Ladies Graphic Magazine, which is kind of in the similar vein to that series. It's just an illustration book from the artists,
Hmm.
and then they've also licensed the Bella Rule. I think it's Bellis. Is it Bella Rule?
Belle Cruelle.
Bella Rule, whatever, however you want to say it. Anthology manga series. So that's also pretty cool. Looking from the cover of it, it looks intriguing. I know it's an anthology, but it kind of looks like it's going to be about food or travel. So
Hmm.
really interesting stuff there. And then the excuse me. The last few things that they've announced was that they will also have an animation art book for Spy Family, as well as the fact that they oh god, my brain is just dying in the ditch today. Uh, they had the art from the guy who made the art for SNK slash Capcom.
Yep.
Uh, Shinkiro, they held him, a panel for him at SDCC this year. So yeah, he just got to show off some artworks and whatnot. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, just a few niche looking titles here, which look pretty interesting. I'm not entirely sure what Hiromi Matsuo's department store Waltz is, but looking from at the cover, it looks gorgeous, and always intrigued by good looking art,
Yeah.
and then definitely intrigued in what Bella Rule. I'm just gonna call it Bella Rule. Uh, really interested in that anthology. So good stuff coming out of Udon. I'm gonna let my brain recover, and I'm gonna have you go
Yeah.
through
You
Ize
you're good.
because I don't know what the heck just happened.
Before we move on to Udon, also announced they're going to release a 352-page hardcover of Expedition 33 art book. It seems like they're doing a lot of art books. Udon, if you're familiar, they were the ones that did the hardcovers for Summertime Rendering, I believe, which was a
Correct.
big debacle in themselves. So hopefully they've recovered. They do the material that they use. Their production is top quality, though I will say. So I am excited to see this. But yeah, we'll move on to Ize Press announces print licenses for Codename Anastasia and Mignon BL webtoons. Um, this is I believe, if memory serves, trying to think back to when my wife and I went to Anime Expo the previous year. I believe Ize primarily does BL series, but they announced, yeah, two Boys Love webcomics in Codename Anastasia and then Mignon. Um, I believe the first one or both will be for English print publication. But they are also webtoons as well. The ongoing webtoon is currently serialized digitally on Tappytoon. Never heard of that. But they will be out in 2027, one being in March and the other being in January. So great. Again, very small publisher. If memory serves, we went to their booth at Anime Expo, and it was just maybe two tables kind of pushed together. They were selling a lot of different series, so it's great that they have a presence at San Diego Comic Con. They're making announcements at San Diego Comic Con, and again, these are for a very also niche area in manga in that it's primarily a BL uh, publisher too. So awesome to see. Um, but yeah, we'll move on from there. We've got two kind of back to back. I'll take over. Don't worry.
There
We'll split up
I
the
was gonna
work.
say I've got this next one if you want, but
Okay.
I know. Yeah. So Marvel is partnering not only with Kadokawa but also with Webtoon. So we'll start with the Kadokawa announcements first, because apparently, I guess, more publishers the better. So for Marvel and Kadokawa, they've announced that they will have 5 original manga volumes for various works. In the tweet that they kind of showed off, they're saying, "What if there was a Spider-Man born in Shibuya, or a Daredevil in Shinjuku, or a Yakuza-style Punisher?" They did say that, and I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Toki Tokoro's work is titled Spider-Man of Shibuya. So that's going to be pretty neat. And I think that depending on the character, yeah, I think some of these can work out. I'm not entirely sure about others, but yeah, they also said that Shueisha will begin removing 5 manga titles. Like, this is also some bad news here. Shueisha will begin removing 5 manga titles: Marvel X Shonen Jump Plus, Collaboration, Secret Reverse, Spider-Man Octo Girl, Spider-Man Kizuna, and Deadpool Samurai from digital storefronts gradually from September 28th to the 30th, and is ceasing sales of the same manga titles in physical print volumes. So all 5 of those manga have ended their serializations, but it seems like whatever license they had or whatever agreement they had, it's gone. So if you're a
Yeah.
fan of those, you may want to try and find them, physically. If not, you've got 2 months essentially to pick them up digitally. So
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment that they announced on July 1st that their contract with Walt Disney Japan to publish those adaptations it will be ending on September 30th. Um, so very odd to have that announcement. Obviously, this is taking place that announcement came out before both Anime Expo and San Diego Comic Con, but it is interesting to see that they're now diving deep into new adaptations. I assume Out of Universe might be um, something else partnered elsewhere. I don't know, but it sounds interesting. Whoops, throwing stuff around. Sounds interesting enough. Um,
yeah,
we made comments too about this. I know a while back, and we've reiterated it with series like the Star Wars Visions having the different anime studios do an episode or two on each season, and this idea that some of the mainstream Western series like Star Wars or the DC comics or Marvel comics would be interesting if they got a manga like not a manga but a Japanese style twist to them where you get like a flavor through a new non-canonical series of some kind. So I
yeah,
mean I'm not a Marvel DC comic book person. I'm not like much into the superhero fandom all too much. So these are not speaking to me personally, but I can appreciate the intrigue that it brings to be like, hey, what if you just kind of in an alternate reality put these characters in Japan?
yeah. I mean,
I
you
mean
saw
it's
it
yeah.
like what, 2 years ago now with the Suicide Squad Isekai.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we had and that was directly from Warner Brothers too, I think, if memory serves. I
I
think it
if
was
I believe you are correct, and I ended up watching that, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think at the end of
mhm.
the day, it was like a 7 out of 10, but still, like, it was better than I ever gave it any sort of credit.
Yeah.
Going into it, I thought it was gonna be crap, but
We're we're
it
seeing
turned
a
out fine. It was
we're
good.
seeing a lot more crossover. I don't know if it's trying to bridge the gap between the comic fans of Western series with the comics fans of, the Eastern series. Obviously, just for lack of a better phrase, for Asian series, or if it's to try and just do the international move, which is like, hey, most of our fans are US based that like, the Marvel series, the DC series, and things like that. What if we kind of put out the hand
Yeah.
to our fans over in Japan and say, hey, let's make something relatable kind of in your space and vice versa,
Yeah.
right?
I
So,
mean, yeah, it's like Japan's giving us manga, so, Disney's like, "How can we get comics over there?
yeah.
Let's just make it in a manga style and just with our characters and see how it goes." And I don't think that that's necessarily the wrong way of approaching it. It's
Mm-mm.
just a matter of I think you need to have somebody who's got the knowledge of kind of the Japanese manga industry and, like, how their titles are run and really kind of embrace that rather than just embracing the Western style comic. Because the Western
Yeah.
style comic, I know in Japan you have some series that are monthly, but in the West, comics are monthly. It is period monthly. You get maybe I don't even know. I haven't picked up a comic book in forever. It's been probably since college, but from what I remember, anywhere from 20 to 30 pages that are all full color,
Yeah.
and that was it for your month, and then you gotta wait another month, which, I mean, it's still, it's a good amount of work to go in for a monthly series, because, weekly, monthly, biweekly, etcetera, for manga, it's all black and white, doesn't matter. You may get a color page here or there, but it's not, full color.
Yeah.
So, I think that as long as they've got somebody on the side, like, on their team in Japan that basically knows the industry well, knows what will work. I do hope that these future series do take off. And speaking of future series, there are other series coming to Webtoon, which isn't necessarily manga. It is more Korean style comics, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
I'm not actually entirely sure, but
Yeah. Webtoon is
yeah, Marvel.
primarily manhwa. Yeah.
Yeah, so Marvel Comics and Webtoon have announced 3 original webcomic series that will be vertical scroll formats. And the titles here are interesting. So the first one is Tony's Girl, which I read, and it's basically Tony Stark is 17. He develops a romance with the daughter of his father's business rival. So that
Like,
that could be good. That could
gasp.
be good. I see the intrigue there. And then I'm gonna skip the second one because that's probably the most interesting one. The third one is X-Men in Korea, which, God, I hope they don't have a debacle like they did with the Wolverine movie where he was in Japan, because that movie
Oh,
was atrociously bad. It was not good.
yeah, yeah.
And then the last series is That Time Deadpool Fell into Webtoon and Found the Longest Title of All Time, which
I
obviously
like it.
is a play on of just the fucking idiotic naming
Isekai.
culture that, isekais can have.
Yep.
So, it's perfect. It is, fourth wall breaking that is Deadpool. So, yeah,
This
that'll
is
that'll be fun. That one, of all the 3 titles there, I think Tony's Girl and Deadpool one would probably be the ones to bring me in, because I don't read anything currently on Webtoon, but this might bring me into Webtoon.
this is I will note Webtoon, albeit has produced less than ideal revenue numbers over the last couple of years. They have been making significant moves in the digital space, and I think this is a huge one, especially because they also do print series as well. I know I've reviewed a
Yeah.
couple in the past. They do a lot of they and very high quality, full colored uh, publications as well. The thing I find the most intriguing from this announcement too is that it explicitly states that this is 3 titles in the first wave of all new original Marvel stories created exclusively for Webtoon, with additional projects to be announced later. So this seems to be a long-term partnership, and Webtoon did announce that they had a global partnership with Disney back in August of last year, and I think we noted that as well. We were kind of intrigued, like, what was the intent? Like, was it going to be Disney approaching them to say, "Hey, look, we're trying to do something in the digital webcomic space alongside the feedback we've received off of Twisted Wonderland," something to that end. Like, I mean, That's me
Yeah.
just throwing out guesses because I've heard no one talk about Twisted Wonderland whatsoever. Um,
No, I like nobody. I've never heard of anybody playing the mobile game, reading the
nope.
manga, watching the anime. But that series thrives.
No, I
I
know.
just see
I
it
know.
everywhere.
But I mean, it did
But
say the article finishes that portion by saying that they intend to distribute around 100 comics from Disney, Marvel, 20th Century Studios, and Star Wars. Uh, and they're developing original web comics. So I imagine part of it's going to be migrating over series that are already in existence for the digital vertical format on Webtoon. But then the other part, which is what the core of this article talks about, are those original series too. I'm intrigued. I think this is good. Again, the same feedback I have for the Kodakawa announcement as well. I think it's really good for the manga space. I think it's very telling of sort of what people are anticipating in terms of where the industry is going to move towards in the future. I think having those crossover partnerships is, certainly a way to capture a new market as well as kind of have at least some intrigue from the existing manga fans out there. Again, I'm not the biggest Marvel or DC person. I'll probably go out and read one or two of these just for funsies. If it comes across me, my feed at some point, and when it's finally out, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll go read it. Um,
yeah,
but I think this is also, it's going to be interesting to get the temperature though of the room from some of those diehard comic book fans, and then also the diehard manga fans, to see, like, is this blasphemy, right? Like, is this sacrilegious? Has it gone too far? Are we straying further and further from kind of what the real fans are looking for out there? I will play a devil's advocate here and say, a lot of the universes have opened themselves up to basically infinite realities, right?
yeah.
Looking at you, Spider-Man. Um, but again, like, we've seen this in other spaces. I'm gonna harp on another hobby I love in Magic the Gathering. Like, we get new
That's
licenses for
true.
Magic the
They've
Gathering all the time. Like, this year alone, we've had Avatar: The Last Airbender. We've had our own dedicated Spider-Man set. We've had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We just had Marvel Superheroes, which is like the larger just world of Marvel.
and
We
then I think The Hobbit is coming out.
we have The Hobbit coming out next. We also have Star Trek this year still.
That'll
Like,
be fun. That'll be a
it's
fun
it's
set.
it's really interesting, and but it goes to this idea, like, that realistically there's no limit to a space when it comes to the type of partnerships that you can create, because when I think of Magic, it's high fantasy. It's an offshoot from Dungeons and Dragons. It took a lot of the original ideas of Dungeons and Dragons and put it into card form. You see a lot of the cards themselves when it was first coming out that are literally a one for one for spells from D&D back in the day.
Yeah.
And now that's sort of gone because we've opened up the door of, like, well, what if we reimagine the game to be sci-fi? What if we reimagine it to be more, modern, futuristic, whatever? Like, it could be like, I wouldn't be surprised if we had some, like, Cyberpunk 2077 crossover, something like that, right? So that's all to say, I think, when in the manga space, this certainly is not a surprise, but I am interested to know what the diehard fans think. Because as a
And I've
manga
got a
fan, as a Magic fan, I'm
uh,
like, I'm tired of the universes beyond. But I cannot deny that it does bring in a lot of new players, which is great for the game. So I'm wondering if that's the same mentality here.
yeah, and I've got a few friends that are diehard, comic book fans. Like,
Hmm.
I've got a couple of friends from my old company who we still every once in a while, we will go see a movie together. Actually, in fact, we're next Tuesday, we're gonna go see Spider-Man together
Oh,
because, it's just yeah. Like, they're the only people who will drag me to a superhero movie because famously, I'm so over the superhero genre. Um, Spider-Man is really the only thing that I will actually go to the theaters to see, so I am looking forward to it, but, like, they dragged me, whatever,
Drag me.
to the
They hopefully they didn't drug you and then
No, they
take
didn't
you
drag
there.
me. No, but they dragged me last year to go see the Fantastic Four movie, and it wasn't bad, but it was just like, I don't
Lee.
care.
Yeah.
I just don't
In
care.
fairness, Fantastic
So,
Four has never landed. They like swing and miss
this one
every.
of all the ones that they've released, this one was probably the best one, but still. But yeah, I probably will read at least 1 or 2 of these because
Mhm.
I follow a person on Instagram, and they have like a series that they post on Instagram. And they announced either today or yesterday that, hey, I'm putting like this series on Webtoon now. You can read it there. It'll be on Instagram first, but a day or two later, it'll be on Webtoon. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So this gives me an excuse to actually open up the app for once
Do
and
it.
read it.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. But yeah, enough of Marvel, enough of Webtoon. Let's hit the heavy hitters, which we're gonna start with Viz because this is the lack of the heavy hitter. Viz was at San Diego Comic Con. However, they were there for very specific things. So they had a merch booth that was set up that had some pretty okay stuff. I wouldn't say like great stuff, but
Well, I mean,
they had
the
some.
Steel Ball Run fan in me, I was like, "Hey,
Okay, yes, that's
that
true. The
hoodie's
Steel Ball
looking
Run
pretty
fan in you.
nice."
But, like, I'm not gonna buy Rooster Fighter Blu-ray Steelbook early, I'm not gonna get the Bleach stuff that
Oh,
they
that
had,
Bleach
but, like,
Deathmat though.
they had a few manga releases that were early there, so, like, the Martial King and, the new volume of Dan to Dan were there early, so those I would've definitely bought.
Yep.
I'm behind on Steel Ball Run, so I wouldn't have bought the new issue, so I know, kill me.
Shame.
But outside of just their merch booth, they did have a few panels, but nothing to announce new series or new publications coming to the United States. They had one for Rooster Fighter. They had one for making manga with Viz Originals. They had two panels, in fact, on Ruby, basically just intro to Remnant, which is just I think their world. Uh, so yeah, they basically had just random different very specific panels that weren't just announcements.
Yeah.
But then they had 2 panels or 2 sessions or 4 sessions, I guess, spread across 2 days that were very intriguing, and that is they had portfolio reviews. So if you are a aspiring manga artist, you can bring your portfolio, samples of your portfolio, and they would review it and they would give you, I don't know, helpful tips and hints, or, if they really are compelled to like hire you, maybe give you an interview. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but it was interesting that they had this there. It's actually really cool to have like professionals there review your stuff so that way it's like, hey, I know what to work on if I want to do this at a professional level
Yeah.
rather than just kind of, as a hobby. So I think out of all the things that they did, that's the most intriguing one to me. And I really wanted to see if anything comes of it. Like if anybody was just like, hey, my work was so good that they accepted it there, or it's under review for, serialization or at least a one shot or something.
Yeah.
Like that would be really cool because Viz Media, the Viz app itself, they kind of been adding more historical titles and things that have been going on rather than putting newer series on there. I know the Shonen Jump is technically Viz, but like they churn through series like no other. They
Mhm.
probably go through, you know, they probably cancel at least 9 series a year and then,
Yeah.
put out 10 more. So it is what it is. On top of, if legacy series are finishing. So
Mhm.
like Sakamoto Days is really coming close to its end. So I know that they'll replace that here shortly once that does end. So I do want to see if anything came of this because to me, this is the most intriguing thing that Viz did outside of the fact that they could have come out and said, hey, these are some other series that are coming to print or to digital,
Yeah.
sites. So yeah, I,
The
I, I really think that this one was cool.
This makes sense too for San Diego Comic-Con, right? Like it's at its core,
Hmm.
it's a Comic-Con and
You've got your fans, you've got your aspiring artists and everything else.
yeah.
And it's just like, hey, come give us your best shot.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna note that it's somewhat the equivalent to, um and I believe the studio is Boom Studio. I want to say, you can double check me on this, but
I'll look it up.
I believe every year at Anime Expo they have like a VO contest, and I want to say that usually the winners do get an invite or an extension to audition, have like a truthful audition for a part in a series. And I believe there are stories of individuals who have won the contest in the past that have now become um like consistent voiceovers or voice actors for series, like new and ongoing series. So
So it is called Bang Zoom Studios.
Bang Zoom. I just was like, how about Boom?
Boom.
Just combine them both. Bang
Which, by the
Zoom
way,
Boom.
Boom Studios does exist. I did get a search
Okay.
result for Boom Studios, but
That's
it
funny.
is something entirely different.
Okay. So yeah, so Bang Zoom Studios. Yeah. I mean, and again, for Anime Expo, having it be primarily focused around anime and manga, it makes sense there that they would host something like that. So, in contrast, it makes complete sense as well for Viz to do this at San Diego Comic Con. And I agree. I think this is a great kind of showcase not only for Viz, but also as an opportunity to get critiqued if you are a mangaka or a comic artist, and have that sort of professional introduction as well into the space if you haven't had that opportunity. But again, as a manga fan, I will note it's very weird having Viz there, four different panels, mind you, too, and no announcements to date. It's odd, and that could be just because, what, 3 weeks prior or 2 weeks prior, even, it might not have been that long, we did have Anime Expo, and so they might have just been like, we don't have much more at this stage. Like it's such a short period of time has passed. But
Yeah.
it's again, it is a very strange thing to have someone as big and as notorious as Viz attend San Diego Comic Con, have a quite a large presence there too, with the amount of panels they hosted as well, and to not get any sort of announcement.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, they're still doing really cool stuff, which you
Yeah,
love
yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
Absolutely.
But yeah. Moving on to the other big players that did have some manga announcements. We're going to start with Kodansha here. They reveal their spring 2027 lineup. It is interesting that, they kind of announced their books that they're releasing 9 months in advance, uh, which is cool, but also sucks because it's like, oh, yes, this is getting an adaptation. And then my brain completely forgets about everything that was announced until I see it on the shelf randomly one day. I'm like,
Well,
oh, that's right. This was happening.
it's funny too because I'm on my phone right now, but I am still listening. I had to look it up because I Viz does announcements, but I don't know why it just now popped in my head. They usually do it just
On
randomly
Twitter.
on Twitter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, it just goes to the point of like, if you knew you were going to be at San Diego Comic Con, if you know you're going to be at Anime Expo, why not just save it for there? Like have a big presence. Like, it was me on June 12th because I have the date saved of when all the announcements were made for Viz for their spring 2027. Funny enough, um, it's just me like refreshing Twitter constantly. Like, all right, what's the next one? What's the next one? Like, man,
Yep.
make a big spectacle of it. Like, that's what people want to see. They want to know like what series are going to get announced for publications, which ones are getting the special hardcover treatments, which ones are, coming back, right? If you have like an older series that's getting it redone or whatever, like here's the place to do it. Um,
Yeah.
so
I'm in complete agreement. But Kodansha was there. We got some new titles. First up we've got is a series called The Pool, which is coming out in spring 2027. We've got the first box set for Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. It's going to be volumes 1 through 6,
there's your
and
fucking
will
vanilla
also
ice cream.
include what happened?
I was just saying your big box of vanilla ice cream.
Funny enough, looking at the box, there
I
is like
I
a
was
parfait on it.
I was circling it with my mouse because I'm like, there it is, Rentaro next to his big fucking bland ass vanilla ice cream.
Hey, now.
Just like Frankfurter loves.
Yes, I do. It'll come with an exclusive set of 10 art cards, all inside a nice, pretty box with magnet closures, which is nice. I actually do appreciate the boxes that have the magnetic closing, so it's like don't have to worry about
It's
it,
so fun.
opening or like a slip cover or something like that. It's
It's
it's just it's the little things that make things nice.
the last real box set I think I owned was the Full Metal Alchemist box set, and I remember that
Mhm.
thing was like a tower.
Yeah.
And but it had Velcro, so, like, there was no way to get it out without just being like, like, Velcro open and then
Rip.
and you're like, "Oh god." The worst sound.
That's funny as heck. Next title we have is The Cat and Dog's Nine-Tailed Lives. Again, all these are coming out in spring. We're not going to really go over the descriptions for it, but based off the cover arts for all of these, not too interested in any of those. I mean, granted, I already own the secret or the fragrant flower stuff, so I probably won't buy that box set. Next, we've got Kraken Mare, which almost looks very Western-esque rather than, a manga, but
Yeah,
still pretty cool looking, but not enough to potentially draw me in. This next one, yeah, this from the cover art has me drawn in at least for an volume. It's called Mayhem, but it's spelled Meaheim or Mayheim, however you want to
Mechheim.
pronounce it.
Yeah,
Mayheim. Yeah, that cover art has me intrigued for a few different reasons. So I'm in for one volume there. Next, we've got Rega in the Sleeping Forest, which no, I'm good. This doesn't speak to me in any sort of way, although the cat character does look funny. And then we've got a Yuri called "I Love You, Please Dump Me," which
I like the
that's a
title.
fantastic title. So I'd probably read that. And then looks like we've got a boys love a I loved him first, which sure, great,
Perfect.
wonderful. I'm sure Val's all over that one already. And
Yep.
then the last thing that they have is Subaru and Subaru, which is I assume Subaru is the girl on the title or in on the cover in front of her Subaru car. So
I This is not a commentary on the art itself. She is posed like Arthur, the meme Arthur, where he's like clenching his fist, like hands off to
yeah.
the side. Was the first thing that
But
popped in
yeah,
my head.
it's from the mangaka of Initial D, so
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
my buddy who owns a Subaru, I'm going to make sure he buys this for sure.
Buys at least 5 copies.
Yeah.
One to keep in the car, one to keep in the glove box, one to keep in the trunk, one to keep it at
And
home, and then one to read.
yep, exactly.
But, kind of like as big as Kodansha is kind of a little bit of a lackluster
So
you're pointing.
I'm pointing because I'm like, I'm glad you made this comment because I will note that this in the article or the blog post from Kodansha, they state specifically these newly announced print manga licenses from Kodansha already join the already tremendous slate of new print licenses announced at Anime Expo 2026. Which if we go there, we also have an equal amount. So,
That's fair.
Viz, looking at you, why like this is what I mean when I'm like take the opportunity to present to your fans what they're really looking for from you. Again, not at all saying get rid of the opportunities like the sessions for individuals to bring their portfolios to you for you to review them and have like your publishers or what are they called? Oh my god, the title is blanking. But the individuals there that basically partner with creators and mangaka to help them edit and revise and get it published, right? Like have them there. Like that's great. Love that. But in terms of like your presence and what people expect and probably want from your panels are things like this. Like the big announcements. Kodansha split it up. That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Like,
I will say, looking at the Anime Expo announcements, there are a few more on there that I am inclined to get or try out than the
well, they're
ones that were at San Diego Comic Con. But as a whole, yes, I understand what you're saying. But as a
I,
whole,
I mean,
For the San Diego Comic-Con announcements, it's kind of a slightly lackluster comparative
yeah.
to Anime Expo.
And if you look too, I'm scrolling through it on if you're on YouTube, you can see me scrolling through it. Um, they were kind of specific in what they picked, right? You look at the ones at Anime Expo and you're like, yeah, these all seem very much like in line with what fans of, anime and manga are like. You look at the ones
Yep.
from San Diego Comic-Con, like the pool, okay, doesn't feel or look like a normal manga, right? You have the box set.
I see what you're saying.
Like
Yep.
they definitely tailored it to the fans of traditional comic
Western
book.
audience,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
even the one Kraken Mare is from a French science fiction author and an Italian manga artist that kind of blends from The Expanse, Battle Angel Alita, and Akira. So it's like very much in line with kind of what other, again, Western styled comic book series are like. And I think a lot of them are kind of like that too, to a degree. Obviously the Yuri and the BL are a little bit separate, but you also had um, plenty of publishers there that specialize and definitely market themselves in the Yuri and BL space. So I think it was
Yeah.
strategic. I think they did a good job of at least cherry picking to be like, okay, these ones we're going to dedicate to Anime Expo. These ones we're going to dedicate to San Diego Comic Con. And again, big props to Kodansha for going there with a purpose and giving fans what they want, like just more announcements. That's awesome. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to hear. And it's exactly what you expect of a publisher to do when they're at a convention as big as San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then lastly, as my screen gets a lot darker here, we have Yen
Same.
Press. So Yen Press announced 10 acquisitions at San Diego Comic-Con in their panel. They announced that they are acquiring Watching the Angels Sleep, Drowning in Bed Together, which looks like a Yuri, which
Gonna
the
have to
art is
skip by that real
well,
quick, just in case.
yeah, no, I would agree because even
Yeah, no,
there's
no, no, it's
like
a
more, yeah,
yep.
it's very, very not revealing, but it's very
Oh, look at this
sexual.
next one.
So
This one's cute. Move on. How about you move
Shark
on?
made of the
Perfect. Look at this. This is adorable.
Shark made of the shore.
Why does
Yeah,
she
it
look like
looks like
Miku? She
just
even has a leak.
this is true. It might just be
Also,
interpretation of Miku as a shark maid.
false advertising. Those seagulls are just like next to her. Those seagulls would be attacking her if she had any sort of food in her presence. So fucking whatever artist, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with you because seagulls are not this nice. Seagulls are bastards.
Yeah, they are kind of bastards, but oh well, it is what it is. Next is the Deskmate Cat and the Love Novice, which so far they're 3 for 3 in my book, just for pure different reasons. Like I feel like they all
Pure.
three have their appeals.
Yeah.
Uh, Next, we've got The Villainess Are Unwavering. That's the first one that you've lost me on, but that's fine. Not everything's going to speak to me. If you're a
Villainous
Villainess fan, there
series.
you go.
Yep.
Then you've got Disenchantment Camera, which, sure, wonderful. I like the guy's shirt on the cover. But
Oh,
also, I'm looking inside the lens and I'm noticing the like
not the pizza.
heart with like the X through it. So,
I'm
also interesting there as
God.
to whether it's going to be kind of what?
The art
You're
looks
mumbling there. What?
so. I'm collecting my thoughts. The artist and the style looks so similar to something else. I want to say like Old Boy, but I know it's not Old Boy. But it's very much in line with kind of that, um, like very deep, deep, deep blacks, and then extremely fine lines elsewhere. Just very much like I like that. I like that aesthetic.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
just
that
trying to
style.
find it real quick, but I can't find their page as to what else they've done. But
Okay, next one.
there's that. And then next one we've got looks like a BL. Don't talk to me.
Don't talk
Sure,
to me.
wonderful.
Don't talk
Don't
to me.
talk to me that way. And then this is another one which I know Steve covered in one of his recent videos. Steve was on our podcast last week. Mane Mane Nichi Nichi Baseball Manga Manager Forever. Or sorry, Baseball Manager Every Day. And this one does seem very cute. I've definitely put this on my to read list.
Yeah.
It seems like a good comedy. And then next we've got hashtag I'm looking for zombies, the complete omnibus. Wonderful, great, good for you. Then you've got what looks to be a romance, maybe music series, My First Love with You Again. And then you've got a, a okay, sorry, I stumbled on words there. A series that I believe they had an anime come out this year. I've seen
I
something about this series this year, and I
I
can't
think
remember
you're
what it
right.
is.
I think you're right.
Uh,
I have seen.
Champion,
Yeah.
Champion Witch,
Yep.
and I wanna say it got an anime at some point this year, and I'm looking it up, and yep, it was winter this year.
Yeah,
So,
look at you go.
yeah, so volume 1 for that will be coming out in the springtime. But yeah, that is everything that, Yen Press announced. I would say that, like, I feel if I look back at my shelf, I feel like it's a good even split, but I feel like I'm more inclined to read a lot of the Yen Press books first that I buy than I am like the Viz or Kodansha. So,
Yeah, I think I mean, for me at least, anything that's like Shonen Jump, Viz, even like a little bit of the Kodansha, Kodakawa stuff too. Usually I'm reading digitally, and so I'm like less inclined to buy physically right away. Yen Press is harder because they're usually harder to find digitally. And
they
so
don't have their
I'll
own dedicated app to
yeah,
our knowledge.
yeah. So usually I'll go out and buy those first too. I agree. But no, this is a good lineup. Weird thing though is that I do not see, unlike Kodansha and all the other publishers we've gone through, I don't believe I see a date. I imagine we're thinking 2027. Also, it should be noted again or reiterated that this is 10 acquisitions. Um, so unclear when they're actually going to be published, but they are going to be at some point published by Yen Press. Um, Another note to add, I guess they also made announcements on their social media the day prior to their panel at San Diego Comic Con. So a lot coming out from Yen Press, a lot from Kodansha, and then every other publication we went through as well, which is great. That's awesome. I think
Yeah, no, I agree.
I I I will say. I mean, again, we talked about it a little bit at the outset, or at least you kind of highlighted at the outset. It is odd to have so much more come out of San Diego Comic Con than Anime Expo. You could argue that Anime Expo is more for the anime, like getting the sneak previews of anime, getting the special panels with voice actors. You know, it's kind of the somewhat equivalent to, or the as close to we can what we can get here in the U.S. to Anime Japan in Japan, which is obviously the biggest anime convention in Japan. That where they do a lot of their, again, like early release previews, the voiceover panels, the um announcement stuff too for like future projects as well. Less so the manga, but again, they have other dedicated conventions for that, like Jump Festa for all of, like, Shonen Jump series, things like that. So it is weird.
Yeah,
Again, you can argue like that it's, Anime Expo is more anime oriented. Again, I think more so for me, the surprising thing was the larger footprint that all of these publishers had at San Diego Comic-Con versus Anime Expo. I think that's the weirder thing. Again, all of them had or at least I believe to be, based on what was reported, some semblance of a presence at Anime Expo, whether it be just a small booth for selling or they held a panel. But it was not, in comparison to San Diego Comic Con, much more so there in terms of a presence and a voice also within the panels. Um, so it's just weird. It's odd. I think it's a
it
positive
is.
though. I think it's good to see that they're branching off into all the other, and there's more and more publishers at the Comic Cons. I'm hopeful that this will translate to New York Comic Con, which happens in October this year. Um, we'll see. Obviously, San Diego being in California is a little bit um, easier to travel to if you are coming in from Japan and elsewhere. New York, a little bit harder, but still as big, if not Actually, I don't know. Is New York Comic Con considered bigger than San Diego? I think San Diego is the bigger one, right?
San Diego's the biggest one, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, New York is still large. It's
Oh
by
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
means a small con, but
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
San Diego Comic-Con is we'll call it Comic-Con, so
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll be interested to see. I think it's a good sign. Again, everything that we're saying is positive, though. Even though we're making the comments comparing Anime Expo to SDCC, I still think, regardless, it's great. It's a good thing for the manga industry. It's a good thing for the market. I think it's a great thing too for fans. Again, we're seeing more creative ideas coming out, especially with the partnerships with Marvel from Webtoons as well, and Marvel and Kodakawa. Just seeing those crossovers is really intriguing. It kind of speaks to the limitless possibilities we have in terms of creating new series and what we can license as well. So I'm really excited. I think it's a good sign. I think it speaks well to the future, um, and we will certainly be on the lookout for where we're going to be at, especially in October when New York comes around, to see if we have that same level of presence, or if we're going to be, you know, more dedicated to the Western conventions, we'll say.
Agreed. But thank you all for joining us this week. Much appreciated if you made it this far into the episode. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But if you want more of us, please go follow us on the social medias. As I say as an old man, the social medias at Baka&Co podcast, wherever you get your social media feed. I've been Frankfurter. That has been Magically Average. Until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.